All right, so if you want to see if you want to see something interesting, take a look at this. Okay, if you think that there is no corruption or greed or fraud or anything of that nature inside of the organizations or entities that deal with homelessness or funding around homelessness, here's an email from one of the CEOs of the head of the Coalition to End Homelessness in Victoria, BC. I was meeting with her once a month for 2 years, and we never talked about anything. Her interest in me was very unusual. I was doing workshops. Somehow she found out about me through my workshops and the work I was doing in the community, or I was trying to do. And out of nowhere, she reached out to me and said, "Let's meet for lunch." I said, "Okay, I don't even know who you are," but I asked, other people from the organization I was working for, and they were like, "She's like the head of the Coalition to End Homelessness." So I'm thinking, okay, maybe she's seen what I'm doing and wants to collaborate on something. I'm not sure. Like, she never expressed her intent in any way, shape, or form. So I went for lunch with her, and we talked about literally nothing. And she never really. She claims that she just wanted to be like a support of some sort, but she never asked me any questions that would what somebody would do if they were interested in being a type of a support system for somebody, which she knew very well that I already had a support system through Amwin House and the organization that I worked for. I had clearly I was starting to become a figure in the public from the community work I was doing. Go Google me and you'll see news articles about me, magazines, all kinds of stuff, documentaries. So I found it very unusual, and I let her do that because you can't come near me unless I know what your intent is. You're not going to get to come try to figure me out, try to, you know, um, pick my brain in any way, get any type of information from me, get any insight from me unless I know who you are, what you stand on, what you represent, and what your business is or your intent is with meeting with me. And that has to be discussed and established the first time we meet, or else I'm not going to continue to meet with you. But I let this play off because I wanted to see what she was doing. I wanted to see what her intent was. Now, it was very unusual because for almost 2 years, we met almost every month, if not every other month. But for a while, we met every single month for lunch and talked about nothing about my emotions, nothing. If she claimed to be a support, what kind of support? We weren't having any conversations based on anything that would be conversated about if somebody was there as a support, which was her claim after the fact. But I know that there was only one of two things that this could be. Either she's trying to feel me out to see how, to see what my plans are in advocacy work around homelessness, um, and see how she can get me involved in other things around the same work, which never happened and she never discussed that. Or they see me as some type of a threat or have developed an interest in me because I've made it from a tent, from homeless to employed to inside of an organization, learning how they apply for grants, learning the process, and I've become a powerhouse myself, someone that really has real lived experience. And they see me as a threat to their establishment because they are committing fraud, which that seemed to be what happened. Okay. Um, for almost 2 years, she met with me and never said anything about an employment opportunity, employment program for homeless people. I'm housed now. you know, a lot of the problem that happens with people that go from homelessness to housed is that they can't get a normal job, and it's very depressing. They need to find a purpose in the employment that they're participating in, and these organizations claim to be offering all these opportunities, but they don't have any employment programs, any paid programs, any certification programs for the homeless, no job opportunities, no employment for the homeless, only for the people that aren't homeless and have no real lived experience. So I was confused on how I could be meeting with the head of the coalition for 2 years and be doing everything on my own, trying to get employment, trying to do all these things, and nobody even sees. People see the community work I'm already doing, and when that employment ended, they don't sit there and say, hey, well, guess what? There's other options and there's other opportunities, and we would love to have you participate in the work that we're doing because based off of the community work that you've already done. That would be a normal engagement and normal interaction, but no, she was just trying to feel me out and figure me out. And I don't know who sent her, but I'm a lot smarter than that. So, anyways, after 2 years, I finally said, you know what? She invited me to one of their board member events. Okay, so you got to be on the board in order to even get added to this list. So at that point, I was like, it's been 2 years. You haven't said anything to me about anything. I've been hanging on by a thread, living off $100 a month, hardly being able to feed myself. And you know that I have potential. You saw me work for multiple organizations, and you're the head of the Coalition to End Homelessness. You should be connected with every single employment opportunity for a homeless person, every single paid employment program that could possibly exist. And your job as a CEO of the Coalition to End Homelessness should be to seek out people that are in a stable situation that have overcome homelessness and find a way to give them purpose in their life and have them participate in the advancements of the coalition and to help end homelessness, because the people with lived experience have the real answers. Okay, just because your parents were alcoholics doesn't give you any lived experience. Okay, and they know that, and they don't want me. They didn't want me in there because I'm the real dude that really did 15 years in the streets, really been to jail, really knows the streets for real, knows what the system's doing intentionally wrong against the homeless and what the holes in the system are. They don't want me to find that out or change anything because that would compromise the hundreds of millions of dollars that they generate to keep themselves employed with $200,000 per year salaries and plus. So she finally adds me, after 2 years trying to get me to come to an event that on the board. And at that point in time, I realized from working for multiple organizations and analyzing this city from an employment perspective and also from a perspective of a homeless person for 7 years, I knew that the system was designed systematically, intentionally to keep homelessness the way it is, but I couldn't prove it until I got employed to the organizations and found out how much money is involved, how they apply for their money, where the money comes from, and how they generate it and how much is being generated versus how much is actually going to the homeless guy, changing their lives. And there is no system in place to get somebody from homeless to housed. I kind of broke the rules and I bent the game, and I'm a little bit different. And I was the whole time I was homeless. There was nobody that was on my intellectual level. I was the only sober person out there. I overcame my demons, and I did it outside of this province because this province has created a drug culture. And if I had to go through my demons and all my problems and addictions and alcoholism and, jail and all that shit out here, I would have got flipped and destroyed by the system. I would be a drug addict on the Pandora Strip as well. So thank God that I didn't come up out here in BC. Now, where I come from, it's a lot more gangster. There's a lot more fucking gangsters. There's a lot more gun violence, hitters, real gangs, real Bloods and Crips, real project housing, real projects, real serious shit. You get shot in your face for no reason. You get beat up and robbed on a daily basis just to go to the store to get some fucking milk. Okay? BC ain't like that. Okay? I've been in the streets for 7 years and didn't get punched once. You know what I mean? I slap people right off the block. Anyways, so that's the real truth, man. And they don't want real dudes like me getting involved in this stuff. I was the only dude on my level from the streets, and it's always been like that since I come from Steel City, Hamilton, where I come up. Anyways, I've always been ahead of the game, 10 steps ahead of the game. But see, that's not me. That's God. God, has actively been working in my life to create pathways for me. And I've overcome everything that's ever come against me because of God. That's for another video. But anyways, so If you want to see something crazy, so this email, Coalition End Homelessness Victoria, also attaches to this right here. Now, when you click that, it goes to the coalition's parent company. Storytelling as meaning making. Right. So here they are again, capitalizing off of storytelling, right? People like stories, you know what I mean? And they're just using our stories, the homeless stories, so that they can build this platform, so they can request more funding to fund this idea of storytelling. You know, um, because they will play half and half, like half truth. Yeah, the story of the homeless people never gets told properly. You know what I mean? So they just found another way to profit and capitalize off of the homelessness people's story, but it never gets them employed. It never gets them, housed or any of that stuff. So you see this. This is the parent company of the coalition. So then I see this and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. You guys are hilarious, right? Because I just went through this process. That's how I. Anyway, so you click on it and you find out. You scroll down and you find out that they are founded by the Rockefeller Foundation. If you don't know what the Rockefeller Foundation is, if you don't know what the Rockefeller family is and the history behind that, like the Rothschild family and stuff, if you don't know about that, you need to go and do some research because this is not normal, okay? For the coalition to have a parent company that is founded by the Rockefeller Foundation is the most significant piece of evidence that I have that the coalition and the organizations in Victoria, British Columbia are in it for profit, greed, and they are corrupt. Because you would know that about the Rockefeller Foundation. They are literally, and bro, there is no one sentence or paragraph that I can give you to do justice in explaining to you what this foundation is and what this family bloodline is. Okay, I'm not into the whole Illuminati conspiracy shit. You know what I'm saying? I was for a bit, but even if, like, who cares if we know that stuff is true, right? We know about the elites and the globalists and the corruption involved around wealthy royal families. Well, this is one of the biggest ever. They control the entire oil industry. And what are they doing involving themselves in homelessness if their primary thing is the oil industry and many other things? But it was all. I watched a documentary about the Rockefeller family and how it all came to be, and it was always to capitalize and always to find ways to make money, and that was his primary thing: was money, 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 wealth, 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 wealth. He was on a mission that he said God inspired him. There's two gods. There's Satan, and then there's the Heavenly Father. And their God is Satan, is the devil. So the Rockefeller family is literally like the Rothschild, is the Illuminati. That's what it is. Now, to see this, to see that happen right in front of me, after I've already done a lot of investigating, I've already experienced 7 years homeless and experienced pure corruption in this city and witnessed it inside organizations and figured out how they generate money and why and what they do and why they do it. To witness that last piece, it was like, I can't even believe it, man. It's just mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. That's how big this machine is, okay? And this is how crazy it is, okay? All off of the coalition to end homelessness, linked it right into their email. And they're following suit with the Rockefeller family, which it seems that this is their parent company, and they are founded by the Rockefeller family, bro. That there's no better proof that you can ever find to figure out if there is corruption and greed and fraud involved in an organization or a system or an entity. That is as far as it goes down the rabbit hole, as far as it goes. Okay. So that was just the confirmation I needed to literally stop my research. I don't even have to research anymore. I figured it all out. Not only did I figure all that out, but I also figured out everybody's salaries, every organization's salaries, how many employees they have, how many employees they cut, how much money revenue they generate versus how much the expenditures are versus ROI. Sorry, yeah, ROI, return of investment versus profit margins. And there has to be profit margins, and there has to be money generated for people to be employed to run these programs. But the Greater Victoria Coalition to End Homelessness is not doing anything to end homelessness. It's not helping any of the homeless. I have been homeless for 7 years in BC and in Victoria, and never once did somebody say, guess what, my life changed because of the Greater Coalition to End Homelessness. Look, they got me a job. Look, they got me housing. The people that they're employing and the people that they're using as spokespeople to advocate for the homeless and raise funds are people with very, very minimal lived experience, people that haven't even been homeless, people that are lying about their lived experience in order to fit in so that they can justify themselves in the work that they're doing, to foundate themselves like, I'm a homeless person too, so I'm allowed to be here to raise funds and money and stuff. These people are the fakest, most evil, sickest fucking people and the most manipulative, compulsive, lying ass fucking people I've ever witnessed in my life, okay? And because when you're really homeless for 7 years, the only thing you're really truly trying to do is figure out, how is this possible if I don't use drugs? The rent is too high, and all the organizations and shelters are designed in a way that literally makes your life impossible and creates it so you can't escape homelessness. So I started dedicating my life into breaking down the details of my experience in order for the public to understand what's really going on, because they don't know what's going on and they can't see unless they become homeless for an extended period of time and have to rely on these organizations and resources and live at these shelters to find out that there's something very, very seriously wrong. And when they figure out that there's something very, very wrong and they experience the corruption of these corrupt staff and management and organizations, then they start to dig into their finances. And when they see hundreds of millions of dollars being generated but not being reflected inside of these shelters or being reflected in the city in any way, and there's no employment programs for the homeless, and there's no housing, and there's no references, and there's no opportunity, and there's no jobs, and there's hardly anything to eat, and there's only a few places to shower, and they literally stop people from trying to create more showers. They get the police, the city comes and tears everything down. They won't let us live in peace, in private. They force us into wide open public designated areas. I hid my tent to hide so I didn't have to be at risk of the public judging me, looking at me being homeless, or people seeing my tent so they can come and steal my stuff, or by law taking my tent and throwing it in the garbage. So I would hide in the bush as much as I could to stay out of the way so my lifestyle doesn't disturb the rich people of Victoria. And they would send bylaw into the bush and find my tent and pack it up and throw it all out with all my clothes in it. And this would happen every other week. I would have to buy a new tent, and I spent all my rent money on tents and clothes to survive, and then it kept me stuck like that over and over again. And the shelters were full of bed bugs, and they generate $30,000 a month in the Salvation Army to live in a dorm with 30 other men in bunk beds. So something was not right. Something was wrong, and also the staff were very hostile, very menacing in nature. Like, it didn't make sense why they were intentionally trying to disturb and disrupt and provoke and intimidate people that have mental health issues and people that are homeless that are literally just trying to survive. And they would treat them like they would act as if they are their slave masters. Like, you're not getting in your bed today if you don't. You're not getting inside to go lay in your bed today if you don't stand here and listen to what I have to say first. That's how staff would talk to people for no reason. Like, excuse me, I'm talking to you. Like they're immediately. I didn't even notice you, lady. Sorry, I was just on my way to go upstairs. I'm just going to get. I don't want to hear any excuse from you. I don't know why you're excuse. Don't speak to me like that because you won't get your bed. Okay, I don't know what's going on with you today, but I'm not into it. Okay, like you're having a bad day. You're trying to take it out on me. You know what? Okay, you just lost your bed, sir. See ya. So I can't even stand up to these people. I can't say a fucking word to them, and they can take out their anger on me. And these are the staff that work at these places relentlessly. They're all like that. Not all of them, actually. There was a couple cool dudes, and they agreed with me. They said, yeah, it's bad, but there's nothing I can do. This is my paycheck. This is how I feed my family. You know, I know that it's corrupt, and I know that there's corrupt staff here, and there's a lot of corruption going on, but I can't speak on it. You know, that was heartbreaking. That was devastating to me. You know, that there's victims not only, being victimized that are just homeless people trying to survive, but people that work there are scared. They are working in a bully culture. This city, Victoria, BC, is a bully culture. They only prey on the weak and the drug addicts and the mentally disabled. They're fucking cowards. And when they fucking meet somebody that could probably fucking punch their face off and could challenge them intellectually and not have an addiction or a mental illness, and I can articulate myself, and I've been employed to organize it. I told them, I said, when I get out of homelessness, after you've done everything you can to work against me and destroy my life, the same place that claimed to be here to help me, I will get out of this and I will get into housing. And when I do, I'm going to get employed to the same organization as you work for, and I'm going to sit right across from you, getting paid the same wage as you, knowing what you've done to me and what you do to the homeless people. How are you going to sit there and look at me in the face? Right. So they didn't want me to get in there for that to happen because I'm the only real fucking dude that would have been able to pull that off and pull their cards and hold them accountable for mistreating the homeless people. And not only that, these organizations that employ them are creating mass genocide against the homelessness population, and they're also creating a business out of homelessness and profiting into the hundreds of millions of dollars and only putting a very small fraction towards the cost, which doesn't even affect the individual themselves that's going through homelessness. So the entire thing is a pyramid scheme. It's a hoax. And you would only know that if you actually went through the process. And when I got housed and stuff, none of these organizations ever talked to me again. And because it was no longer a benefit to them anymore, and it was more of a benefit to me. And also, I would probably infringe on a lot of the work that they're doing because I know that they're doing it wrong intentionally to keep homelessness where it is in order to keep capitalizing and profiting, requesting funding every year. Because if they solve the problem of homelessness, there's no more need for funding. There's no more need to raise funds. There's no more need to request grant money. There's no need for any of that. So there's no need for that $100 million a year demand that pays for all their salaries. So they all lose their jobs. They lose their large salaries. They're paying themselves more than doctors. And then their whole pyramid scheme falls apart. And they don't want that. So they keep homelessness where it is, and they build every single systematic structure within it, including through the homeless shelters and the organizations, charities claiming to help homelessness. And they keep it like that for a reason, so they can keep benefiting and requesting funding on the behalf of the homeless people when they don't even have any lived experience. Okay? So, not to mention, am I exposing this stuff, but I'm also providing solutions. Okay? But the problem is this coalition and these people will hear my solutions, create what I'm explaining, but they'll structure it differently, and they'll only employ themselves. I want the employment for the homeless guy. I want the employment program for the homeless guy. I want from A to B. I want, homeless. There's hardly any rehabilitation centers in the city. There's 1,500 homeless people, but there's like 3 or 4 rehabilitation centers, but they're generating over $100 million a year. Okay, well, your budgets need to be reallocated. Your salaries need to be reduced, and you need to start putting money towards actually fixing the problem. And it'll go from 1,500 to 1,000 to 500 to none. And if they do that successfully within the next 5 to 10 years, guess what happens? The demand for that $100 million is gone. It's no longer. And it would be fraudulent for them to request that $100 million a year if the problem has already been solved and it can clearly be seen that it's solved. So they have no more excuse to generate money anymore and fundraise. Okay, do you understand now what's going on? They're doing this to keep themselves employed, and none of them have any lived experience. They're all liars, because a real street motherfucker that's been in jail can point at the motherfucker that's talking shit. The guy that's acting like a big gangster and shit, and fucking he's saying he did this and this and that. Well, it's the street guys that can pull his fucking card, okay? And these guys that are saying they've been through this and that, it's the street guy that did 15 years in the streets that's really from the fucking hood, not BC, that's the suburbs, okay? That can pull their fucking card. That's why they wouldn't let me get involved. That's why they don't want me in there, okay? Now you know the truth. And guess what it's all connected to? The Rockefeller Foundation, man. The Rockefeller family. And this is the Coalition to End Homelessness. That's the main entity in this city when it comes to homelessness. Okay? I have their financial statements from the board area and everything. So I know they're, Janine knows that I know what's up. She knows that she's not smarter than me, even though she thinks she is. And she's gotten herself far up the ladder by manipulating and taking advantage. Now, these people will advocate for the homeless, right? And the community will see that and be like, wow, what a hero Janine is. What a hero Trevor is. What a hero these guys are at the Salvation Army ARC. These guys are amazing and they do amazing work. But see, as soon as the homeless guy asks for an employment opportunity or an opportunity to make it out of these circumstances, all of a sudden they just disappear and they stop talking to you. Because they don't want you or the homeless population to progress out of homelessness, because then they have no job and they have no salary and they have no reason to request funding. Do you understand that? I hope you really do. So, and the reason why addiction never changes is because there's no rehabilitation centers, and they're all structured in a way that actually creates more pressure on that person to relapse than it does help them. So that's why there needs to be more rehabilitation centers, and they need to, how they are to be dictated and how the structure is built needs to be dictated and created from somebody from the street, homeless people. Okay, not these fake homeless people, not these fakes with fake lived experience because they might have been homeless for a week or maybe a year or even two. That's not even enough to advocate and speak on our behalf. We need a real leader, somebody that really been to jail, somebody that really been through homelessness for fucking 15 years and talks like a fucking street person. Okay, I tried to be suit and tie, organized. I got employed. I was civil. I spoke civilly to people that worked in government officials. And I told my story, and I didn't swear, and I wasn't hostile, and I wasn't aggressive, and I was, giving them the benefit of the doubt. And I did that for years, and it got me nowhere, okay? So now I'm doing it my way, which is victoriabcprofits.ca. Go to the website. If you want to support me, go to the support tab. But we need people from the streets to be advocating for people from the streets, not these frauds. And, I can pull their card, and that's why they don't want to get me involved. They don't want me in there. So I'm exposing their entire pyramid scheme and everybody attached. I got their salaries, their first, last, and names to every organization. How much is generated? Like, Kool-Aid Society generated $36 million in 2021. And I know $36 million isn't going into the cause, or else there would be absolutely no homelessness in Victoria. If you gave me $36 million and told me to change things, let me see if you can make any progression in reducing 1,500 homeless people to 1,000 or 500. And you have this many years to do it. I would do it in 1 year. Maybe not 1 year. I mean, it's not something that can happen overnight, but if you took somebody with real lived experience from the street that has, that is sober for like 10 years plus, like, you don't want to give a lot of money to somebody that has a history with drug addiction, right? Obviously, there's a process. Like I said, since I was 14 years old, I've been in the street. I've overcome everything. I wouldn't be alive right now. You know what I mean? For a long, long, long time. You know what I'm saying? But point being is that the people from the street need to be doing everything straight up. You need to create the pathway. You need the employment opportunity, the training, the employment programs that are paid, the certification process, the educating that doesn't have to be through a college. You guys have the money to do it. You just choose not to because it doesn't fit your agenda. This one right here, okay? And they're doing nothing but profiting. And this is proof. And if you don't know about this, go do your research and it'll make so much sense to you. It'll be so alarming. The Rockefeller Foundation has no business working with any collective that is affiliated with the Coalition to End Homelessness in Victoria, BC. There is no reason for that. Transforming systems towards equity and justice. If this were true, things wouldn't be the way they are, okay? There's more than enough resource, more than enough money. They're not doing the right thing, and they're doing it on purpose. It's not even, I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I even offered solutions. And you know what they did? They stole them, requested funding, didn't employ me, let me fall off the face of the planet. I ended up back into a tent, again, with no job. And you know what they're doing? They're getting paid off of our ideas. So they need to move out of the way, be willing to lose their salaries. They need to go the fuck away. Go away. The homelessness world is for us, not for you fucking frauds, okay? And if you let us dictate how things are run and structured and what happens with funding, none of this shit would be a problem. Homelessness would have ended 10 years ago out here. It's not that complex. You guys are overcomplicating it, making it more complex than it needs to be, and building every single organization and structure of every organization in a way that slowly contributes to homelessness, but still has 10% functioning that actually contributes to the cause. So that way, you can use that 10% as a body of evidence, as a statistic of progression to use to request more funding. And then homelessness only stays at a capacity of 10% resource. So it stays stuck like that in a cycle. If you were to put 50% or 80% towards the cause and only break yourselves off a little bit, instead of having $250,000 salaries and plus, and not receipting everything to the CRA and the charity data, then real change, detrimental change would happen. And you would see the number go down, 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 down. And you would see the quality of life improve for the community and the public and the housed in Victoria, not to mention the homeless population themselves. Okay, so stop lying, stop standing in our way, and we know what you're about, we know what you're doing, and we're pulling your card. So I'm going to educate the entire population, the entire homelessness population of Victoria, BC. I'm going out there in the streets with documents, with business cards that go to my website that have more bodies of evidence of their financial statements and how much money is actually generated. So there is no lack in amount of money. That's not the problem. It's the mishandling of funding. It's the greed. It's the overpaying themselves and their salaries. It's actually developing and building these organizations and the structure of these homeless shelters in a way that keeps homelessness the way it is and contributes to it. Now, I made two videos that I'm uploading right now on how to end homelessness in Victoria, BC. Solutions. So not only am I bitching, but I'm offering solutions. The reason why I don't like offering solutions is because they keep using me for my ideas, and then they don't put me in position to run these programs and get funding to run these programs, but instead they cut me out of the deal right at the last second, and then they request funding for my business ideas and for my ideas around poverty and homelessness that would improve and progress homelessness out of its current state. And then they keep themselves employed again. And then they structure it in a way that only gives the bare minimum towards the cause, and then they pocket the rest. So our place, $15 million in 2021. Kool-Aid, $35 million in 2021. The ARC. Now, just mind you that they're not inputting and receiving every single thing, okay? So these numbers are just a general idea of how much is being generated, but trust me, there's a lot more. Even this doesn't align with their internal board members' only financial statements. So they're lying, There's more research to be done, and trust me, there will be. But go ahead and read this. Educate yourself, because you need to educate yourself from the homeless population and people that have been homeless, the real people of the street, not the people advocating for us and giving you guys fake statistics and all this fraudulent bullshit. If you really want to know what's going on, blame your city, blame the British Columbia government, and blame these fucking fraudulent organizations that are placing themselves in a position to capitalize and profit off of homelessness primarily. Okay? Greed has always been the foundation of the system. Okay? So go ahead and go through these videos, check it out yourself if you don't believe me. Okay? There's going to be a lot of people that are going to submit their own testimonies on this website once I get out there. And there's a forum. It's not just me speaking and making myself look like I know everything. I'm giving a platform to the homelessness population. They don't know it exists yet, but when I start advertising and I start getting out there with business cards and brochures and pamphlets and and I'm doing this all out of my pocket. I live off of $700 a month, okay? And I'm doing this. Look at what I'm doing, and I only have $700 a month after rent. and they got hundreds of millions of dollars, and they can't fix anything. They can't solve nothing. Okay, well, somebody's lying. Okay, actually, all of them are. So I need to just do it myself, and that's what I'm gonna do.